Hi, welcome to the Please Bear With Us podcast, where we talk about family, friends, faith, and anything in between.
Holy cow, we're back. Tyler, how are you, sir?
I am doing well. I'm recently caffeinated, so
Yeah, you're struggling this morning, aren't you? The struggle bus.
just a little bit. I really don't feel bad though now, but an hour ago at the Awful,
Yeah.
I was feeling it.
Breakfast was good as always, though.
Yes.
Yeah. Overindulged probably, but that's what people do when they go to the Waffle House, and that's why we do it once a week.
Yep.
Well,
It's
kind
been
of once a week.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's been an extended week if you're talking once
Yeah.
a week.
Right.
Um,
Which we'll get into that. So, it's wonderful. We're dealing with wonderful 90-degree weather here in the early onset of summer. What are your thoughts on that?
it's pretty crazy. I mean, we go from even I felt like the beginning of May. The beginning of May was cold, and
Yeah.
so to be in the 90s by June 1st, June 2nd, it's kind of out of the ordinary, is what I feel like. But I don't know. I mean, you think June to be warm, so
Global warming.
yeah.
Right.
So
I had to throw that little snarky thing in there, right? So we didn't have much spring. This was not the year to. It wasn't bad, but we didn't really have the long spring we like, I think. And summer's here. It's not super muggy though, so that's good. It's just hot.
mm-hmm.
So Tyler, we had a little thing called Memorial Day last week, and I think we would be failing everyone if we did not mention first off, thank you to everyone who has served and heck, those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, because you and I can't even imagine, but what's Memorial Day mean to you?
Well, it's definitely a time to reflect, and it is a time for like for us, it's like the family that we have that is also like helped raise us, and just remembering them, and then remembering the veterans, and just all those who have served, and especially in my family. Now, I personally didn't go to the graves this year, but a lot of times we do that.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of. We also celebrated my nephew's birthday on Memorial Day. His birthday was earlier, but celebrated it, and so we had the hot dogs and hamburgers and kind of the Memorial Day celebration part. But it was a good day.
Well, and Memorial Day, it's always kind of a tough time for me right now. So, well, first off, a big celebration. My oldest just turned 11 on the 23rd. So, depending on the month, right, or the year, is it depends on when Memorial Day falls. But 3 years ago, just a day after Memorial Day, I lost my dad. So that it changes the whole kind of climate and perspective of Memorial Day for me a little bit. I know where Dad is. That's not a question, but there's still the miss and the hurt and the memories and kind of all the mixed emotions. But it is an awesome time to kind of reflect, to think about the incredible things, the incredible people we've had in our lives, and really how blessed we are to live where we do. We're still in the best country in the world, and even through our just political mess, no matter what side you're on, right? We've talked about that. We're still very, very blessed, and I think that's why we want to fight for our country. But yeah, Memorial Day. I think it's a time that I wish more people did reflect on and spend a little bit more time on. Because I think sometimes people just treat it as another day or a free day off.
Right.
So Tyler, I've got a question for you today. I was going to ask you what you ate for breakfast, but I was with you. So,
yeah.
He was late for breakfast, just for the record. Not that that matters, but just so we'll
woke
call
up
him
at
right
5, fell back asleep, and that was the problem.
and he's still not up again. So he's got some caffeine though, so
I do now.
he'll be fine. He'll make it. So we got a ball game today. So I'm gonna have fun in that heat. I'm coaching, so we'll see how it goes. A bunch of 10-year-old boys and shenanigans, which is the story of my life. But with that being said, I had a really cool thing happen this week, and I'm going to get to it. But I'm gonna lead into it with this question for you, Tyler. Tell me about a time when God used you in a very unexpected way. I did not prep him, by the way.
Yeah. This isn't a teleprompted event.
Here, read your cue card.
Yeah, no. Exactly. Let's see.
And if you need to think, I'm willing to share if you need to think.
Well, it's just when you say like an unexpected way, I guess one example I have is that I was in college and a girl like her MacBook dropped off of her bed in college, and so it cracked the screen, and she was just like casually mentioning it, and I was like, oh yeah, I've got a friend that can do that. So it was kind of an unexpected thing of like just being able to hook her up with the right contact in order to fix the screen, and it saved her a bunch of money instead of going to Apple and getting it done. So it saved her about $200, and so it was really cool, and wasn't planning that at all. So
yeah, well, and you helped her. There's a reason for everything, and I think that's kind of the point of unexpected situations for all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to have asked me that question in general before this week, I'm going to share the one that stands out most, and then I'll get into the week. So I graduated high school 19 years ago. Time flies. You can't call me old.
Mm-hmm.
So about 20 years ago, really started hanging out with a buddy that I had not really hung out with that much. He was really good buddies with the kid that was most likely to be famous, talented Broadway star, and has basically done all of the above, lives in Nashville. And this kid that he was friends with was an awesome dude, really engaged and involved in his church, living the right life, right? So, in high school, kind of you get that identity crisis, right? How much of the right life am I living? And I think that's where I kind of stood. And this fellow's name was John, and John came into my life, and we just hung out. We were hanging out every weekend, all the time. You remember the movie The Passion of the Christ?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so The Passion of the Christ came out, and I might have shared this before, but does this ring a bell at all to you?
I mean, it does to me, but I don't know if it was shared on the podcast. Okay.
So the movie Passion of the Christ comes out, and we've been buddies now for about a year. This is my senior year now, and it came out on a Thursday night. And Friday morning, I come into school, and John is running up to me and just telling me about this movie he went and saw, The Passion of the Christ. And he just can't stop talking about it. And it's like, okay, that's cool. In the moment, you're just like, I got to go watch that. You kind of face value, right? So we go on to first period, which for me was honors English. By the way, I read one book my entire high school career, too. I'm sorry, I read one in history because I was a history person, but I relied on SparkNotes.com and got A's on all of my exams. And my last year, I read I said I'm going to read the last book they offer, which was right around this time, and the book was As I Lay Dying. What a book to pick, huh? And I told my
Sounds
instructor,
like a rock album or
yeah,
something.
right. Well, I told my teacher after that book that was the only book I'd ever read, and she was very impressively displeased.
Yeah.
So, anywho, so sitting there in honors English, and it was quiet. We were working on some type of just project, and it was just quiet and getting toward the end of the year. And I look up through the window. We had those little vertical windows in our doors, and there's John, and his face is beet red, and he's giving me the hand motion of come here. I got up, didn't say a word where I was going, walked out the door. He threw his arms around me and started bawling. And he said, I just don't know why they did that to him. Why did they do that to him? And I can't believe he did that for us. And he is just repeatedly saying this. And it clicked. And I said, John, I said, it's because he loved us. And I said, do you know him? Do you have a relationship with him? This guy, we're talking about Jesus, of course. He said, no. I said, you want one? He goes, absolutely. And I helped lead him to Christ that morning. And that was so unexpected for me because I wasn't the had my life in order kid, highly involved in church. But it was apparently, right? I was preaching a little bit of the gospel without using many words. I was doing something right. And I think God tells us through things, unexpected things, ways that he uses us that we're doing something right sometimes, right? It's some of us need words of affirmation, right? Love languages, all of that comes into play.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the basis, right? But then I go to this week. So I manage an emergency department. I'm a nurse. I think we've mentioned that a time or five. And I was out on the floor. I was helping my team, trying to start an IV on somebody. And I get a call that says basically, hey, you've got a so-and-so is here. They need to see you. It's one of my nurses that's not on today. So I come out and somebody then said again, hey, she's looking for you. I'm like, okay, where's she at? And I walk around the corner. Her fiance's standing there in street clothes. Well, I'm like, hey, buddy, how are you? He's like, good. And I'm like, where's she at? And he goes, oh, in the snack room. We call her EMS room, the snack room. And about that time she walked out and there was good banter. She's funny. And she was like, here, I got something for you. And she was kind of acting a little nervous. And she is not a nervous person. She's very confident, calm, cool, collected. And we get into my office. She's like, I'm putting in my 2-week notice. I'm like, shut up. She was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, well, here, sit down. And she was real hasty, nervous. I'm like, what are they going to tell me? Are they pregnant? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, are they setting me up for something here? Like, because they're just, her anxiety is showing through. And I had a little box in my office where I stored some little gift bags for Nurses Week. And she sets me down and she said, here, open this. And she pulls a card out of that box. And I said, okay, now I'm totally confused. And I open the card. Let me actually open my phone here. I open the card and I'm kind of like, okay, is this a wedding invitation? Because they're getting married soon. What is this? And the card reads, Joey, something or someone has really been speaking to my heart ever since you jokingly mentioned getting ordained and officiating our wedding. There was a random passive conversation, I think a joking conversation about this. We could not be more honored to have you join us on our big day. And this is, will you be our officiant? Please don't feel like you have to, but we would really love it if you would be. And of course, I'm like, well, I'm not a pastor.
Yeah.
But there is the internet, right?
Anybody can get their license.
That's right. Anybody can get their license. So she sends me a message after the fact, and I'll tell you more about this. She says, I always wanted a traditional wedding with a pastor and such, but I wanted someone who truly knows me, and I want you to be there. You're the perfect person. Thank you for always being so kind and understanding and just a stand-up guy. It doesn't go unnoticed. So this girl actually goes to one of our sister campuses,
Hmm.
and I actually did. I said I'll do it. I said I'll do it, and it was one of the biggest honors of my life. One, to have an employee come to her boss, like, to ask that, right? And two, I think it's going to be even more of an unexpected opportunity. I've been talking to her a lot about Rooted. Tyler, you know all about Rooted, class that Tyler and I both teach, or facilitate, I guess is the word, Tyler.
Yeah.
She's been asking more questions about church, and she comes to me for those questions, and I think that God's opening a little door just in this situation, to use me in some manner, to show some light, to show some love. So I just thought it was really cool. It's a very humbling, honoring experience. I think some people would think it sounds bizarre, but I feel like, I'm going to do this for her. I think it's, I've thought about what am I going to say, and I think God will give us those words. I've already we went through a marriage class recently, my wife and I, kind of as a pilot, and a lot of the things we talked about, I'm like, oh my goodness, we can share this wisdom with them on that day, So I don't know. It was definitely unexpected, kind of neat. But what are your thoughts on that, Tyler? It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. I don't know if I would be able to handle that stress level of becoming a minister, or whatever you call it, to get your license.
It's a licensed officiant, I think, is what it's actually called. I don't think you're not proclaiming anything like.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to fake it in that manner. I don't think that's appropriate, but
yeah.
I mean, we're all ministers of the Lord, right? We're all, but in terms of this, I think it's more of a license to be able to wed, I guess, someone.
Yeah, it's just that's a big ordeal in my opinion. So it's definitely cool that you could do that. But if I got asked that same question, I'd probably be like, nope.
Well, it was funny because I think I was initially so shocked. One, to see this girl so nervous. She's a very confident, cool, calm, collected person. And then over the last few days, I've come to find out from some of her friends that she was really excited but nervous to ask me. Like, it was really on her heart. And that's why I think it's a God thing. Don't know exactly how God's going to use me in this, but I hope that he will use me to impact her and her fiance. Her fiance, his dad was a police officer. He and I have that in common. Well, he's actually a police officer now as well himself. And they're just great people. And just, I've been excited. I'm a little nervous. But I think it goes back to like the conversation from high school. I think it was in that moment, in that time, a little message from God that I'm doing a little something right. Because God knows I screw up 150 million times a day. Mm-hmm. And I think as humans, we focus in on that. Tyler, we've talked about that before, where we really focus in on how bad we suck.
Yeah.
And it's wearing. I mean, I know you're like, man, I just don't feel like I'm having the greatest day or the greatest this or the greatest that sometimes. And I know sometimes I'm like, man, but how I treated my boys or my wife but at the end of the day, I think we do a lot of good. And I think sometimes we just don't see it. We put the blinders up to the good and we focus on the bad. And it sounds so basic and elementary, but I think we need to choose to see the good. And I think listen to God when he shows us and gives us these unexpected things to kind of show us that. So Tyler, let me ask you again. I'm gonna ask the question again. Tell me a way that God's used you in an unexpected way. Because I'm gonna tell. Can I tell you a way that he's used you in an unexpected way?
Sure.
Through your story. Through your disaster of mental health struggles, that has really turned into a blessing. So, beauty from ashes, right?
Yep.
And he is using you over and over and over and over again through those ashes and turning it into something beautiful. So I think that's, to me, the obvious one for you, and that's just an outside perspective.
Yeah, it's I can definitely see how that would be. It's just I don't feel like, I mean, my story is kind of extravagant, but at the same time, I don't know how it's being used, I guess, basically. Like, I know that there's a lot of people that struggle with mental health, and for them to be able to relate to someone else is pretty cool. And so I I don't know. I mean, like, I've never thought about it as really like helping people. It's helped me more just to be able to speak it and let it out a little bit, and just be aware of, like, hey, I did this and it was craziness and I had medical issues, and then to be on top of it now like I am is a blessing and a gift from God. And so like, that part I can see, because I'm kind of a testament of Jesus is like overcoming obstacles in people's lives, and in mine especially.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Tyler, I like what you said of, it's helped you to realize several things, and every situation in life, I think we have to be willing to realize the reality of the situation, or the good of the situation, or the blessings that we do have, or the strength that we have through Christ, right? There's a lot of times, like, because we do focus on the negativity of the situation, right? Not just, I don't want to use the word failure. It's not always a failure, but we focus on the idea that it's negative, and we let that dictate our next move versus using the adversity as an opportunity to persevere, and to gain insight, knowledge, faith, whatever. And I think that you've done that. And I want you today to walk away from, after we get done recording today, I want you to walk away from this and think, what other ways has God used me in unexpected ways? Because there's ways, and we need to be more intentional about acknowledging those ways, is I guess what I'm getting at.
yeah.
Because I think it's very healthy. It's very, God often uses us to bless others so that we may be blessed. And I don't think it's so that we may be blessed with money or with goods, but I think it's so we can be blessed internally with fulfillment, and emotion, I guess, is another word. But I think it's God's way of letting us know we're living out a mission a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun to share. I was excited to share that with you. Just a totally different thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And like I said, just pretty cool, especially being this is, I think my team are all friends, but I've got to be their boss, right? I've got to be their leader. So they're all people who I love dearly, truly. And I would consider them all friend. But it's my employee at the end of the day, and that just made it even that much cooler. So, so Tyler, we're going to shift gears a little bit here. So,
okay,
how long's it been since we recorded?
Oh man, like 2 or 3 weeks.
Right. So once again, we're putting our name into work here.
Yep.
Please bear with us. But so I want to talk about the hustle and bustle, but I'm going to talk about this in kind of a reverse context. So I think a lot of times, whether being hustle and bustle or whether being distractions, we'll just call it, Satan attacks when we're trying to do something good, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So got a buddy, helps me coach, got a little boy, Brody's buddy. Driving home from a game the other day, I've got the little boy because, well, let's give you the backstory here. I got to go farther back. I know I'm talking a lot, Tyler, so
No, that's
bear with
okay.
me, brother. Bear with me.
I am the caffeine is worn off, so I'm like, oh
Okay.
no.
Well, if you fall asleep and your head hits the mic, I will
Yeah.
laugh. I will point, laugh, pull out my phone, record it, and I will attach it to this. So
Yes.
So anyhow, so another fella from church, doesn't go to the campus that I go to, but knows that I'm coaching with this fella, and he's like, man, I love that dude. I'm like, I know, he's a great guy, and he's like, he's really been on my heart, and I'm like, mine too. So I'm telling that story in about a 10-second blurb, but this guy has been heavy on our hearts, and I wasn't really sure why. We didn't really know his background, but kind of like, hey, we need to show him some light here, give him some love. We really want to be a light in his life. So bringing his little boy home from a game, and Brody, my 11-year-old says, now 11, says, Dad, he doesn't believe in God. He's sitting right next to Brody. And Brody just kind of goes on to ask him some very mature questions about, did you have faith that everything came from nothing? Like this, I was impressed to hear at the time my 10-year-old just, man, I don't understand. Like, God wrote the word, and the word's the truth. And I mean, he's just going on and on and on. And I'm like, holy moly, like, preach it, son. Like it was powerful. Kids say it. They don't beat around the bush. And his little buddy was really handling it well, but that's where the light bulb clicked. It was that moment, right? And I was like, I got it now. I was like, me and the other guy from church, his dad's been on our heart, and now we know why. Because that family they don't know God. They have no idea who God is. They don't know Jesus at all. And so he got a nice steady dose of some awesome Christian music on the way home, top down on the Jeep, and we've showed him a lot of love. And I went back and I told the guy from church, and I said, I know why now. And he goes, you know what else we know? He goes, we know how to go. We go through the sun. And ironically enough, right, we go through the sun. How many times have we heard that? But I think there's this imagery that goes with that. But ever since this has kind of come to light, the dad has been unable to be at practice and games because suddenly he's having to work all these hours. I truly think it's Satan. I think his dad sees it as money, but it's Satan. I think Satan knows that there's people out for his heart, to get him to know Christ and to really help his family. And I truly think that that's a lot to do with it. So,
I feel like it is, there's definitely like Satan has his kids as well, but I mean, God's going to get the victory in the long run. But there's times where it's, like I've talked to people before, and then after I've talked to them, it seems like life just hits them out of nowhere, and they're super busy, or they're super sick, or they're unable to hang out, or whatever the circumstances are. And it's just like, you know what? Like the seed's been planted, and maybe that did take root, maybe it didn't take root. But Satan doesn't like it when he doesn't like it when somebody is going to be led toward Jesus.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he can't stand it. And for us, I think sometimes we get frustrated, but I think that's even more so why we have to be persistent and intentional. Just like with podcasts, right? It's been 3 weeks. And life has gotten in the way, which, family has to come first. We know that. But life's gotten in the way a bit. The hustle and bustle of life, being busy. We do this for each other and hopefully to maybe impact a person or two, but we've allowed life to get in the way a little bit. And, I think God wants us to be very intentional with our life, and doesn't want us to get too caught up in this world. But it's so easy to do. We get focused on the things of the world, and often lose sight of the mission that we're called to live out. So, I know there's plenty of scripture about that, but being intentional, I guess, with your faith and your mission is so hard. I know just even in life decisions, when I'm intentional, I feel better. I feel better about myself, about my walk. And then when you slip a little bit, when you're not super intentional because you get caught up in the world, which is what happens, you kind of feel a little bit of that little regret, right? You kind of feel a little bit of that nail going in the hand on the cross,
Yeah.
But it's easy to do.
It is, like, getting distracted as well. Like, it is, for me, it's I can sync time, whatever it's called, into video games very easily, and I can be talking to friends the whole time, and I lose sight of why I'm talking to friends, like, because there's a point where it's like, yes, I'm hanging out with them and everything's okay, but there's also a point of trying to check on them spiritually, and I feel, it is, at the end of the day, it's the Lord that does the work, but I feel not obligated, but I feel like there's definitely a part of me that says, like, oh, I need to be caring for them and checking in on them and making sure that they are okay. And sometimes you get an hour or so into video games, and then you're like 4 hours later, you're like, what just happened? I'm still playing, and not much has been accomplished in terms of, like, the friendship bond is there, which is kind of weird because I think it's more acceptable nowadays, but at the time, like, growing up, it was like you play video games and you were considered the laziest person on earth. And it's kind of like COVID kind of helped that as well, like, because people were stuck inside and they're like, okay, I'm going to go do this. And so it's a lot more accepted than it once was. But it is, I don't have a ton to do right now. I'm still waiting on certain things to happen with my medical side of things before, because I am currently without a job, but I'm trying to keep myself busy. I haven't streamed lately at all, but because I'm realizing, like, streaming doesn't really earn you income, and if it's not earning you income and you're not, like, I don't do YouTube videos and I don't do, like, shorts and stuff like that, and I'm not good enough at games to just be, like, outstanding with headshots and all this kind of stuff that people like to see, but I'm more into relaxed games. So I don't know. It's just I feel like being intentional is something that we need to be in Christianity, and it just
I think life in general, just as a follower, right? I guess is the right way to say it, but yeah,
right. It definitely is a stepping stone for me of trying to have balance, and it's very easy for me to lose that balance right now.
So Tyler, let me ask you this: what in life we have to have goals, right? Whether, like, so at work we have to have goals. We have to have annual goals. We have to have sometimes monthly goals, but in life we have to have goals. So let me frame this for you. Whenever I measure, did we meet our goals in work? We may have a goal to drink red Kool-Aid. This is not a cult joke, by the way.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
We may have a goal to drink red Kool-Aid. Hold on, I gotta mention something here. The other day I made Kool-Aid at church, and we were teaching the kids, and as they came in the door, I was pouring it in a cup and handing it to them. and I just thought of, is it Jim Johnson? Is that his name? Jim
Jones.
Jim Jones, yeah.
Oh.
I just thought of like, oh, this looks so cultish. Like,
Yeah.
I'm handing Kool-Aid out as they come in the door. Anyhow, so with that being said, back to the Kool-Aid.
But it wasn't like spiked Kool-Aid.
Well,
or anything,
I
so.
plead the fifth, but
Yeah.
we had maybe some dissolved melatonin. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
we do
exactly.
not drug our kids in church when we're teaching them.
Just at home.
Just at home, yeah. Your goal may be to drink red Kool-Aid, and at the end of the year you drink blue Kool-Aid, but you still drink Kool-Aid. So kind of my rule is, achieving a goal is about progress, and progress equals an achieved goal. So it's not necessarily about achieving the exact goal, but it's about making progress. So if I said, what are your goals and how are you making progress in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
There should be some alignment there.
Yeah. Right now, because of how I'm, I don't have, being social is probably my main aspect of life that I'm working on. It was really easy for me to be social throughout the week with church. We had small groups and then rooted groups, which was like a book group. And then we have church, and then as well we have a Friday prayer meeting. So I was pretty heavily involved in church 4 days out of the week. And so that's going to be cut down to 2 days throughout the summer. And so I'm going to have a little bit more time. And so for me, the most I can do is hang out with people and try to. And so for me, it's video games. It's like one of my biggest things that I do is, as I said like earlier, it's like I check up on friends. I make sure they're doing okay, but at the same time, I'm playing with them as well. So there's not 100% of me just asking like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up?" It's more like in moments of gaps and stuff like that. You're just like, well, if there's sometimes you're playing competitive games that are like there's no time to talk other than just like, oh, you got to get that ball into the goal. But then there's other games where you're just like, I can shoot the breeze for 3 hours, and people do. And so I don't know, like that's where I conflict a little bit, because I spend time socially hanging out with people, and that's what I feel like is fun.
Right.
But it's also I kind of feel like it's a calling a little bit. I've met people online that I have in some way, shape, or form helped lead them to the Lord.
So let me ask you about that. The most recent one.
Yeah.
How did you meet him? So
I actually met him through we both worked at a retail store together.
But I'm gonna use that example, right? 6 1 half dozen another. Whether it's streaming or playing a video game or working at a workplace ABC, wherever, right? The goal in those, in what you're doing, the goal you set was maybe to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal achieved or the progress may have been that you help lead a buddy to Christ. Well, first off, you gained a buddy, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, you shine some light on the buddy, and thirdly, you led a buddy to Christ. And it goes back to how God uses us in unexpected ways, as long as we're making progress. Because see, our goals in life, sometimes God closes doors, or what we think our goal is, his goal is totally different, right? He's got a plan that's greater than us, and he's closed numerous doors for all of us and opened numerous, and we've missed probably millions he's opened.
Yeah.
Being brave enough to walk through a door is a whole nother conversation, an open door. Often we're very dumb and willing to try to walk into a closed door, though.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that goes? We don't have the guts or the fortitude to walk through a wide open door. Because we don't know. It's not in our plan, right?
Yeah.
Our plan is, I want to go through that closed door over there. His plan is, I've got this open door, and you need to trust me as you walk through it.
Right.
But there's the problem: we don't trust him.
Yeah, and that's where for me, I I need more. Like the door I'm using right now is open, at least as far as I can tell, and so it makes me want to just stay in that door. And I feel like I need to walk through other doors as well to try to expand my horizons a little bit. But
You ever watch Finding Nemo?
I have.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
So my point being, right? Just keep swimming. If you keep swimming, he'll show you the next door. Tyler, don't force it. I know that you get very tired of. I think sometimes I'm using the word tired, but frustrated, tired, annoyed, irritated. Maybe even feel a little hopeless. Like what? Daggone it! What now? Well, I'll tell you what. It's been a podcast. It's been friends. It's been rooted. You in that becoming, getting mentored in that and getting to be involved in that. It's your B groups. It's going to be another B group. It's going to be all these awesome things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are doors. Don't discount the open doors that have been that you're walking through. I think sometimes though we just don't feel like, because we're on the path that he wants us to be on. Your faith is strong, and I think because of that, sometimes you just feel like you are just swimming, but you're passing checkpoints per se. To get to where he's taking you. And, I've told you where I think he's taking you. I think you're going to change the world, brother. I personally, I keep saying that over and over.
I just don't feel productive.
I know. But you're productive for him. And you'll become more productive in this world if you just continue to trust him. Mm-hmm. And I guess that sounds so like, oh, that's so Bible-y, right? Well, yeah, it is. But there's truth in that. Tyler, your story, your journey is so different. You can't force things right now, because right. Like you've got some restrictions and some things that you've still got to work through, and that's okay. But with time, productivity will increase. But I think that goes back to the idea of intentionality, right? Kind of we talked about this like in week 2 or 3 of this little journey of, okay, I'm going to wake up at 7:30, right? I'm going to make coffee. Check. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 7:30. I'm going to make coffee. Then I'm going to go take a shower. Check. The day after, I'm going to wake up, make my coffee, take a shower. I'm going to brush my teeth. Check. Right? We keep adding layers onto it, and productivity will then come.
Right.
And I'm making that sound very simple, but sometimes we have to start simple.
Well, I was going to say with depression and stuff, it's very easy to lose the basics.
Absolutely.
So,
and we talked about the Admiral and the Navy SEAL, right? Who every morning you start by making your bed, and at the end of the day, no matter what else you did, if all else fails, you made progress because you made your bed. Like the little things do matter, I guess is what I'm saying. And don't get distracted. Don't let Satan win that battle, because you truly, you're doing awesome things, Tyler. You're making progress. I want to shift again. One more shift.
Okay.
You got your seatbelt on?
I can. Currently don't.
Okay. Well, time for some controversial talk.
Okay.
So Target's been a store that I have loved to go get things at because I like the quality of their stuff, and just I feel like they had a pretty good product, but they've recently gone really woke.
Yeah.
So as a Bud Light is another one, right? There's been a couple that have made some very woke decisions. There's a big wormhole. There's a big can of worms and multiple holes we can go down and into. But as followers, as people of Christ, what do we do with that?
I've got two different thoughts on the subject. One is that I know that people companies take stances that it's just like Chick-fil-A taking a stance There's going to be pros and cons with it. There is right now what's big is include everybody's willy-nilly. And I say willy-nilly because like there's people that like Bud Light with the person that believes that they are a teenage girl or something like that
Something
when they're
wild,
really
yeah.
when they're really a
Grown man.
grown man, yeah. And so there's people that include all of those things into one lump sum, and then they're so companies are going with that, and it's very difficult to fathom, like, for me, just the amount of anything that is received like as correction or as criticism of the event of going woke or whatever is just labeled like hatred, when it's not. It's just there's differences in opinions. And so on one hand, I'm like, you know what, we should definitely take what we're doing and move our business elsewhere, because we want to put our money and put our time into places that are with like-mindedness to a point. My other side of this coin is that, say you work at Target or something like that, like you don't necessarily give up on your job because the corporate decision makes a decision, but you work with people every day that maybe don't prescribe to that Kool-Aid or whatever. And so do you lose your mission field just because you're not as like-minded as the people that are up in the big chain of things? Yeah. And so I mean, it's weird because some people, all they do is change their logo for a month and to have rainbows in it and stuff like that. And then there's others that go off the deep end.
Off the deep end. You know, here's the thing, because I've been back and forth on this, like with the whole, let's Target specifically. Let's just talk that one, I guess, is the easiest one to talk through. But, you know, it's like, do we not shop at Target? Well, as Christians, maybe we shouldn't, right? If we worked at Target, our goal is not to turn to their ways. But also, I think the slippery slope is this, right? If we're going to say it, we better do it, which means we better not go to Starbucks. We better not go to, because, right, there's numerous places that have very woke stance. But here's the scripture that this is one of my favorite scriptures. And you as soon as I say it, you're probably going to start like repeating it, but you know, with that Tyler way. So if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, pray and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. So I think that, right, Satan's the god of the world. But I think that if we stand, this is one of those opportunities we have as Americans. America was founded on the Bible, right?
It was, even though a lot of places don't teach that anymore.
Correct. So, but it starts there, and we got away from it as soon as we started, if you really think about it. So, as Americans with faith, if we seek Him, right, we humble ourselves, we pray, which we should be doing all the time, seek His face, not the ways of the world. We turn from their wicked ways, right? We don't buy into that. We don't go shop at Target. And this gets hard. This is like a call, because you think about this. We're going to have to evaluate everything that we do, everybody we support. This requires effort and intentionality, back to what we said earlier. But if we're willing to bring forth the faith and have put in the effort and be intentional, God's going to hear us. and he's going to fix our country. But here's the but. That feat looks so impossible right now. Nothing's impossible for God. We know that. But I think this is just another example of if we stand, people have stood up against Bud Light. And I know, drinking in the Bible, well, I've mentioned I like to have a beer on occasion.
Just not Bud Light.
I've never been a Bud Light fan, but even more so now, I would never buy an Anheuser-Busch product, probably. Like, I don't want to stand for that. But now here the question is who else is doing what? So if we truly want to stand on this and do as we're called to do, which is seek Him, right, turn from the wicked ways, we ought not to support those ways. Now, if that's our mission field, we work there. It's hard, right? Because it's like, where is the?
It's a balance because like there's part of it is like, yeah, I don't want to go to Starbucks. I don't want to go to Target. Don't want to support Bud Light and all that stuff. But my issue with it is like Nike. Like there's so many people that buy their shoes or their subsidiary, whatever it's called, the brands that are underneath it. And they make stupid decisions too, to the point where they hired the same Bud Light person for their clothing line and stuff like that. And so it's just like, how far do you go? Because if you're going to do it and do it effectively, you've got you're like, well, I won't support them, but I'll support them. And it's
you
like
become a hypocrite real quick.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think some of it is you only know what you know. Because here's the other, I think the slope gets so slippery, right? We're wearing clothes that are made in places by children illegally and everything else, right? Fabrics that are gained through illegal means, and we buy diamond rings that
ivory.
No, right? Like the blood. Is that maybe Blood Diamond? Yeah, they say. I mean,
there's so much.
I think it's all in what as we become aware of things. I think that's when you have to turn from those things. Because I think, to your point and to what I'm kind of saying as well, is there's so many things that we even have no idea, right?
Right.
And we can't spend our life. I don't think God wants us to spend our life worrying, but I think as He makes things, as things come to light, I think that's His way of saying, okay, now you know, turn from it.
Yeah.
Don't support it. It's obvious. And there's an agenda too. Like, I think the agenda of Target, which I hate because I really do like Target. Like, there's a lot of things I like about Target, but that agenda of we're going to basically sell our souls to the devil here.
Right.
And I love everybody in this world. If you're gay, I love you. I don't agree with what you're doing though. Biblically, we're born man, we're born woman. We have parts that God gave us, DNA that God gave us, and period. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Doesn't mean I don't love you, right? But as Christians, as followers, we've got to try to stand for that the best we can. But it's a slippery slope, and Tyler, we could talk probably for this for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things where I struggle because it's thankfully like Target's doing bad in stock right now. Anheuser-Busch has lost millions, if not billions, of dollars in their sales just because no one's buying it, and they alienated their fan base to the point that or customer base, I guess is the way to say it. Like, you go from mullets in America to that, and people just didn't have it. And I mean, it's the biggest conservative boycott I think ever. It's just for example, like if a restaurant closes for a remodel or something like that, then other restaurants in the surrounding area get busier. And so when people take like Target, if you don't go there anymore, you're going to give your business to somewhere else, and that is going to affect them. And so in a way that's like, hey, you know what? If we follow the same things that Target does, then we're not going to make money.
Right.
But if we learn from Target's mistakes, then we are gaining customers.
Right.
And so,
there's a lot of good that can come from this too.
yeah.
There's a lot of good.
It's hard for me to get around the, like living in this world and not being of this world, because eventually you'll get to the point where you're boycotting so much that you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're not
I think God wants us to choose our battles.
Yeah.
And trust in Him as we choose them. And I think that we have to. That goes back to why you have to pray about things. Why you have to trust your gut. God's going to He's going to talk through you through. We've talked about through the gut feeling, through the sick gut, through the dream you had, through the thought you had, through the song that's on the radio. He's going to talk to us about it.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to listen. I don't know. It's cool. It's kind of a cool topic, and I think we need to come back to it. I think that we could really dive into some cool discussion. I think that we could really learn a lot. I think it's the kind of conversation we need to have right now, because the world we live in is very. There's a lot of perversion. There's a lot of corrupt. There's a lot of really sad things happening. But a lot of people need to see the truth and the way of the Lord, and we need to show some light. But even for us, it's challenging. So
yeah, and there's people out there that are kind, that are not the offended by everything type, that they're just like, yeah, I'm gay, but I don't like push it down everybody's throat. And it's very easy to have a conversation with them, and that is what the goal is. The goal is not to turn people away. The goal is not to say, just as Joey said earlier, like, hey, if you're gay, I love you. Like, it's the same thing with me. Like, I definitely love on people the same way, like whether they have different sexuality beliefs or whatever, because you can't just throw a Bible at them and then
you can't thump them.
Yeah, I mean,
Bible thumping doesn't work. I mean, I say that as lovingly as I can, but you got to build a relationship and rapport.
Yeah, you do. And so it's just there's people out there that really do just hate you because you have a different stance than them.
Yep.
And that's where you got to just give them to the Lord.
Pray. Yep.
And just hope that one day they get through. Like I, for example, was I notice I say fur instead of four, and it really drives me nuts now.
Is that like a Nelly thing? You've been listening to Nelly?
It's
that's boots with the fur.
Yeah. So that is
that's vivid imagery.
That is vivid imagery, but
Tyler, we won't tell them about your boots, brother.
Yeah, I'm wearing Timberlands right now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to think of who does that. It's not Busta Rhymes. It's not Timberland.
I know we're way on a tangent here.
I know, but I'm trying to remember who did that song, and now I can't think of it. But yeah, so I'm really off topic, and I lost where I was, but please bear with us, I guess, is the way to say it for that.
Yeah. Well, and we're coming up on an hour here, Tyler. I think we've had an awesome little podcast. I think we for not being together for 3 weeks, I think we have some cool conversation, and I think we need to continue some of that conversation. But I've missed being here. I don't want to go 2 and 3 weeks. It's going to happen on occasion, guys, and we've mentioned that. But this is a blessing to be able to hang out with Tyler and Pseudo Scott, who is not here, his chair got in the way this morning, though.
Yeah.
Scott, if you're listening, your chair got in the way. Move your chair. Love you, man. But on that note, we're glad that whoever listens. And one thing Tyler wants to tell you, until next time,
Please bear with us.
peace out.